February 9, 2004, at 7:27 p.m., a single car crash occurred on Route 112 in Woodsville, New Hampshire. It is a dark, winding, rural road with no streetlights and no cell service. A local school bus driver pulled over and saw a young woman standing next to the crumpled car. She was shivering but uninjured. She told him she had already called roadside assistance. Knowing there was no signal out there, he didn't buy it, so he drove 100 yards to his house to dial 911. Police were dispatched immediately. They arrived on the scene in less than 10 minutes. But when they got there, the car was locked, the engine was cold, and the driver was gone. The snowbanks lining the road were unbroken. Investigators found no footprints leading away from the car into the fresh powder, no marks indicating a physical struggle on the asphalt, and no blood. The car belonged to Maura Murray. She was a 22-year-old nursing student at the University of Massachusetts, a former track star, and someone her friends described as deeply dependable and driven. Her disappearance presents an impossible set of circumstances. It operates like a real-life locked-room mystery. There are 3 logical paths to explain where she went, but the physical evidence directly contradicts every single one of them. The first hypothesis suggests Maura ran into the freezing woods on purpose. She may have wanted to avoid interacting with the police. When investigators searched her abandoned car, they found an open bottle of alcohol that had spilled onto the seats. Facing a potential DUI charge is a strong incentive to hide out until morning. But this theory collides with the physical geography of the crash site. The temperature that night was 20 degrees, and there was a thick layer of snow on the ground. Yet the snowbanks lining both sides of the highway were completely untouched. Search and rescue teams deployed helicopters, ground crews, and cadaver dogs to scour the surrounding wilderness. Over the course of 2 decades of intensive searching, they have found 0 remains and no trace of clothing. While the elements are a lethal threat in a New Hampshire winter, the physical landscape at the crash site recorded no trace of her crossing into the tree line. The second path considers the possibility that Maura intentionally planned her disappearance to start a new life elsewhere. This timeline charts her behavior in the 96 hours prior, revealing a series of erratic decisions. She crashed her father's car for unknown reasons. Then she emailed her professors claiming she would be absent due to a death in the family. There was no family emergency. She fabricated the story. She also made concrete physical preparations. She packed up the belongings in her dorm room and withdrew $280 in cash from an ATM. But again, the physical evidence at the scene contradicts the theory. If she was running away to start over, she left behind the precise tools required to do so. Her ID, her ATM card, and her cell phone were all found locked inside her abandoned car. There is also the human element. Her father spent the rest of his life desperately searching for her, passing away 20 years later without a single answer. In all that time, she never made contact. Executing a staged disappearance requires resources to begin a second act. The evidence shows she discarded everything necessary to survive one. The third path points to a stranger. It suggests she either accepted a ride from someone passing by or was forcibly abducted from the side of the road. This map visualizes the most precise piece of forensic data investigators gathered. Tracking dogs successfully locked on to Maura's scent. They followed it down the exact center of the road for 100 yards. And then the trail just vanished into thin air. This scenario requires a narrow alignment of events. On a road with almost no traffic, a hypothetical predator would have had to arrive in that exact 10-minute window and successfully subdue her without leaving a single trace on the pavement. An abduction neatly explains the severed scent trail on the asphalt, but it also requires a flawlessly executed crime against an athletic young woman entirely by chance in under 10 minutes. The investigation remains caught between these conflicting realities: a runaway who abandoned her funds, an exposure victim leaving no tracks, or a kidnapping leaving no evidence. The weight of the case lies in this permanent uncertainty. Every piece of evidence used to support one theory simultaneously disqualifies the others. Today, that stretch of Route 112 looks exactly the same as it did on that freezing February night. The pavement is unchanged, the woods are identical. The physical space hasn't moved, but the mystery itself only grows louder. For those she left behind, the unresolved nature of her disappearance is a wound that refuses to close. They have endured 20 years of looking for a girl who vanished in an instant. Maura Murray's case serves as a reminder of how quickly a life can be replaced by a void. She didn't leave behind a trail. She left a silence that has only grown louder over 20 years.